How are you?
I'm good, man. How are you doing?
Not too bad. Thanks for asking.
What are you drinking?
Water. How about you?
Water?
Yeah, I don't have tea or anything like that.
I
during
had
the
too
day.
much coffee for this.
How many coffees do you? Oh, you feeling a bit jumpy?
I'm a little jumpy right now.
You do. I gotta tell you,
Can you tell?
you do not seem jumpy at all.
Really?
You seem
It's internal.
unbelievably chill.
It's so internal.
Like I feel jumpy in comparison to you right now.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah, you're making me feel a little jumpy.
Now.
No,
right?
you're not. You're not. Congratulations on your Grammy nomination.
Thank you, man.
Tell me
Yeah.
how that happens. Like, how do you find that out? Is that a phone call? Is that a text?
Well, okay, so I found out the day before that they were gonna announce it at like 12, and I wasn't sure if I was gonna get it or not. So I was just like, I was like, okay, I'm gonna wake up at like 12 or 12:30, like like put my alarm, close all the blinds in the hotel so I don't wake up because I don't want to wake up and like wait for it. But then my manager came in with like all my friends and like with a camera, and I was like, oh no, like this is too much pressure. It's gonna drive me crazy. I was like, no, we gotta record it. Come on, like I was like, what if I don't get it? Like what? Like this is nerve wracking. But no, it was really crazy. I mean, like I really had to use the bathroom really bad the whole time, and they were taking so long to announce it. So I like kicked everyone out as soon as they. And I called my dad, and he answered. He was super psyched about it.
You called your dad and said, "Hey, what did you say? Hey, I got nominated for a Grammy."
Yeah, and I called my mom, and then she was like, "What am I wearing?"
Did it mean something to you? Was it like, in addition to having to use the bathroom and getting your picture taken when you were maybe trying to be by yourself, was it meaningful to you?
Oh, of course, it was insane. It's like the like. I've been touring and selling out shows for a while, but that type of visibility is like, it's a validation that it's kind of crazy to think about. It's just like, wow, like I didn't know it was going to get there.
You started out what? Like, I heard you started out dancing when you were a kid.
Dude, yeah. Yeah, I was a big dancer. Well, I started ballet folklorico, which is like Mexican folk ballet.
Yeah.
So like big sombreros and like mariachi outfits.
I've seen that before.
I was doing that, and I was like gigging in like 3rd grade. I'd like leave school and go do like performances at colleges with like a group that I was in. And then after that, I got really into like hip hop, popping, locking, tutting, like all that stuff. And I started dancing like full time. I would go to like quinceañeras. And then, like, with my outfit and, like, hat on, and I would just start dance battles with people. Like, random. There's this one girl, her name was Mary Lou. She was, like, my arch nemesis on the dance floor. But
you guys would have dance contests in the middle of these things?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, bro, it was crazy. It was, like, 40 people, and I'd jump in, like, pop, 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 pop.
Did you think, like, were you too young to think this, but did you think, oh, maybe I'll dance for the rest of my life? Maybe I'll be a dancer?
No, I totally thought I was going to be, like, a choreographer. I was, like, obsessed. I was doing it for a while, and then I started posting dance videos on YouTube. From then Vine came out. I started making Vines. I don't know. It was, like, kind of low-key. I only had, like, 10,000 followers, but I was definitely dancing, like, every day. And then I was like, oh, man, I think I want to be a singer. So I stopped. But now I dance on stage all the time.
When did you know you had an ability to write songs? What I mean by that is like not when did you know you could write songs, but when did you know that the songs you were writing were actually pretty good?
Well, they were like terrible at first. They're
Like,
so bad.
What were you
like,
writing about at first?
Always love.
Do you remember any of the early ones?
Mm-hmm. I remember my first song.
Give me a little bit, can you?
I wrote it for my mom. It was like Friday nights up at dawn. I am sad because my mom is gone. She was working a lot. But
That's actually kind of really sweet and beautiful.
I was 12, but that was like my first song. I remember it was 3 notes on the guitar. And then when I was like 17, I really wanted to write songs. So yeah, they were all just love songs and like kind of cringy. Because like I didn't know how to sing yet. It was a very breathy, like tone. It was gross. It was like like that.
What do you mean? What do you mean? You were 17. You knew you wanted to write songs. What does that mean?
I had the interest. I wanted to record music. I wasn't writing yet, and then I like saved up for this microphone. And then after I got the microphone, I was like, actually recording myself and
Right.
trying to like write. I mean, I guess I had some, because I used to play in church, so I understood verse, chorus, and like bridge. Like I understood that. So I was like, oh, as long as I know that, chorus is something people repeat, and verse is like different. Like I don't know.
Yeah, you understood the structure of how a song would go from, because you played music in church, right?
Yeah.
Like you understood that, like, oh, typically you lead with a verse, then you write something that's a little catchy that people repeat, and then another verse, and then another chorus,
Just
and then maybe
that
a bridge.
in the back of my head, maybe a bridge if you're feeling spicy. But
yeah.
But yeah.
And then so you start writing songs, and when do you start realizing, okay, maybe I'm good at this?
Well, I knew that I was going to get better. Like when I started, I was like, oh, I know I'm not good right now, but I know I'm going to get really good.
You knew you were going to get really good.
Yeah.
How'd you know?
I picked up a guitar when I was 12 and learned how to play it like very quickly. It like caught on after a while. It caught on really quick. And I was like, oh, like you have to practice to get better. Like it's not like people are just like born, able to sing, or born able to, build a building and be an architect. Like you have to like go and actually apply yourself. So I think that's why I was, from a young age, I just trusted. I was like, all right, yeah, like I know I'll get really good if I just keep doing it.
Man, that's powerful stuff. Like I know so many people, and I'm sure you do too, or I've met people who, and maybe I can be this kind of person, who, like, if I'm not immediately good at something, or if the person's not immediately good at something, you give up on it right away.
Yeah, you get discouraged.
And when you get older, you start to realize, like, oh, actually, most of this stuff is just a game of work.
Yeah.
Most of this stuff is just a game of hours. Most of this stuff is just like you got to put, like, there's some talent involved. But if you just put a lot of work into something, generally it goes okay.
Skill,
yeah. That's pretty powerful that you figured that out so young,
Yeah, it was just like instinctive almost. I didn't like intellectually like break it down, but it was just something I felt. And then the same with dancing. I didn't know how to dance at first, and I would record myself every day trying to look better like when I'm moving. So it was just like, I just knew that, yeah, I had good taste when I was a kid because of like church and stuff. Like I understood, what sounded good or what was my favorite church songs or whatever.
I want to stay on your instinct here for a second, right? So, because this is the story I heard about this record, Ivory, that you finished the record 2 days before the rollout starts. So you're supposed to be making videos and tours, starting to plan a tour and releasing singles. This is how I understand it. Something in your instinct kind of hits you. You scrap it, and you decide to start over. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. I made the record, but not in a way that I would make an album that I wanted to. It was like the label being like, yo, you're in the Harvard position of music. Like you could work with whoever you want in the industry. And then like they got me because with the Harvard thing, I was like, oh, you know what I'm saying? I'm at Harvard, like stroking my ego a bit. But so I did all these sessions with people, and before that I was just making music on my own. I was writing my own, composing, and like recording myself, engineering myself. So it was a transition that was necessary, but wasn't supposed to be like immortalized. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like. It was more of like a learning time for me, not like to be for the masses.
And then you go out you start renting these like Airbnbs, is that right? These like really empty houses to write in?
Yeah, like big empty houses, like kind of scary.
Does that do something to you in the music you were writing? Like, why did you go to these secluded houses? Why did you do that?
Because I just wanted to like cut off communication with people. Because it was like, that affects your process and your art. If someone's constantly has access to you, or, or me constantly wanting to go somewhere or like go have dinner or whatever, it's like, no, I have to. Because I told the label, I was like, all right, I'm not putting out any of this music. In 3 months, I'm going to play a whole new album for you guys, but you're not going to hear anything in between. I was like, I even gave him the date. I think it was like November 5th. And then like 3 months was the time I gave myself. I made like 100 songs. And then once November 5th came, I like wasn't sleeping. I was like taking uppers, trying to stay up, like just trying to finish shit. Like, and then by the time it was time to play it, I was just like completely drained, completely depressed, and like just like this. I was not excited to play it for them. I didn't want it to be judged, but they ended up going really well, and they like loved it. So, And then like called me again, had me play it twice, and like called me afterwards, like, "Oh my god, it's so amazing!" Like that. I was like, "Dude, we should have trusted the process." I'm like,
Yeah, it sounds like you were validated in the decision.
and
that
they'll
made
tell you the
first time
story.
around.
They like the story.
They like
Yeah,
that you said no. They like that.
Yeah,
you,
they like it. Yeah, no, because this, I swear, man, I made Evergreen too. Like that song's changing my life right now. So it's like, if I didn't trust my gut, like, you know, who knows?
I'm happy you mentioned Evergreen because that song that you write in this session that becomes Evergreen, which changes your life, especially like we were talking about bridges earlier. The bridge of that song is incredible. It blows up on TikTok. Can you talk to me broadly about where that song came from?
Well, the song is about being in love with this boy who fell in love with this girl, and then that kind of happening in front of me, kind of, you know. But like, just like the drama of that. But like, I wasn't feeling that at the time. But like, to write, you have to be able to like go back and like surface, like trauma.
That's a really amazing thing about writing, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
That things that you haven't dealt with, or things that you have dealt with, or you thought you dealt with,
Subconscious, like Freudian slips. But yeah.
and they can come out years and years later.
Yeah, no, that was years ago.
Yeah, it can help you process it too, you know?
Yeah, no, I did. I was just like, whatever, you know? And I feel like the bridge tied it all together. If there was no bridge, it would be just a very, very sad song.
You didn't deserve me at all, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You know the vibe.
Omar, I'm familiar with the vibe.
What's your sign?
Taurus.
No.
Why?
Stop.
Why?
I'm a Taurus.
Is that what does that mean? I don't know much about astrology.
Nah, just fuck with you.
You think so?
Yeah, I know you're dope.
Because I'm a Taurus?
Yeah.
All right, man.
There's something here now.
Listen, I have never been more
I'm
on
coming
board.
back to Toronto.
I've never been more on board in my entire life. I've never felt more like a Taurus in my entire life. Normally when someone tells me that I'm a Taurus, they're like, "You're a Taurus, right?" And I go, "Yeah." And they go, "Mm-hmm." And I go,
We're amazing.
What does that mean? They always go, "Stubborn."
We're grounded. That's what it is. They mistake groundedness for stubbornness.
Is the story of Evergreen that you tried to make it go big on TikTok? It didn't really catch.
Yeah, no, they wasn't fucking with me.
It didn't work.
No.
And then someone else makes a TikTok with the bridge in it, and then it kind of takes off. Is that right?
Yeah, shout out to him, man.
What's the story? Can you tell me that story?
I was on like a 14-hour flight, and I'm at the airport on like a connecting flight. It was chaos. And Jake, my best friend, roommate, day-to-day manager, whatever. He was like, "Yo," he's like, "This TikTok's going up." And I was like, "Oh shit." And I hopped on the flight. Then I got back to LA, and then I got like even more. And I was like, all right, well, I'm going to take advantage of this.
What's it like to have that song come from a really personal, specific part of your life that you just told me about that had been in the past, but it kind of came out in you while you were writing that song? And then to have like millions of strangers, people you don't know, and to watch them have like a really intense emotional reaction themselves to that thing that came from you. What is that like?
Well, after you write a song, I feel like I let go of the possessive feeling. It's like for the world now, you know, to be interpreted or however. So it wasn't like I was like, "Oh, I don't like the way it's being like, you know, interpreted or whatever." Honestly, I was like, "Yeah, I was really sad when I wrote that." So like, it should make sense that people were sad, you know?
Yeah.
I don't know. But I mean, it's beautiful. I mean, that's all I want to do is write music that moves people. I feel like when it comes to emotional writing and like, you know, vulnerable and songwriting and things like that, there's people I look up to that do that for me. And I mean, last night I was on the bus, couldn't sleep. You know, I woke up like at 3 a.m., stayed up till like 7. And it was just chaos. But I was just listening to Yeba on repeat because I wanted to feel something. And it's incredible how much somebody can write something and sing something in their tone. And their voice is like amplifying this emotion. And I can feel it too, which is insane to me. So that's just like one of my favorite parts about songwriting and stuff. But
to be an artist now, so much of it is like trying to make something happen on TikTok, right? It's like engaging in social media, engaging in this really public thing. And when I was reading up on you coming in here, like I heard you say something, I think you said something like, at one point I didn't really want to do any of that stuff. Like I wasn't really interested in any of that stuff. Can you talk to me about that? Like, what's your relationship with that? Like the solitude it takes to make the music that you want to make, the solitude that we just kind of need as humans, and then like the stuff you need to be an artist and the stuff you want to do as an artist.
I mean, you look at, okay, I guess Ryuichi Sakamoto, you know him?
No.
He's a composer.
Uh-huh.
And he was very revered, like super, one of my favorites, like does that emotional thing with the piano that I was talking about. And I became really obsessed with him, and I was like, man, like, I want to get to that, like, to where you're just like, just very respected. You don't even have to talk. Your music is like your the respect and stuff like that. And I had a friend say like, well, like when he was 18 or like when he was younger, he was in like this huge pop band in like Japan or something, like huge. And I was like, no, I had no clue. Like I thought he was just like, making the best soundtracks like forever, and was just,
Yeah.
And then I realized I was like, to do what I want to do, that, there's creative marketing, creative business.
Yeah.
It's still creative. It's not like I'm like, I'm not like foaming from the mouth for like validation or anything like that. But like,
I hope you're not taking what I'm asking here as like an indictment of you at all, because I don't.
No,
mean it
I'm
like
not.
that.
I'm not.
Okay,
dude, you're a Taurus. I know what you mean.
You know what I mean? Like,
no, but I know what
yeah.
you. So like, of course, when my label like is telling me like, oh, you need to get on TikTok. It's like, that's like what everyone's doing. Da 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 da. And I'm like, okay, well, I don't make music for a platform. I make music like, for me. And it's like, okay, well then let's post rationalize after the music is made and see like what works. Because as long as the music is fine, then I don't really care how I promote it or how I do things. But there's a lot of integrity at first, or that integrity that I thought that I needed to hold on to when promoting stuff. It's like, oh, I want to be like, just like put it out and that's it, like that. I feel like every artist just wants to be like, heard by as many people as you want, whether you like it or not. It's like, whatever the ceiling is or whatever it is, like, let's just go for it.
And it doesn't stop you from making the music that you want to make. It doesn't stop you from making the art that you want to make. These things are not mutually exclusive.
Even the conversations I had like behind the scenes about, like splits and like all that business stuff that you do when you have to turn a song in, you start doing all this, like percentages or whatnot. I remember one of the things we said is like, yeah, it's not going to be like a big song, like, like that's just funny to think about. It's like you really don't know what it is. You should always honor and treat everything with with fairness and stuff like that.
I think there's meaning that you try. You try to make stuff yourself, like for this thing, with this song, and it's like someone else's beautiful reaction to it. There's someone else's like reaction to this music that makes it go crazy. That's what I like about this.
The songs definitely have new life when I perform them, and they bring out a new feeling every time I get to sing them and see reactions and like see people crying and whatnot. But that's just that's the song never stops. It never stops changing. Like I can always change it live, I could always bring it to life. Like there's a song I have called Archetype. I kind of hate the way I recorded it, but live I'm like, oh, like I would have done this differently. So I'm gonna just do it live, like whatever,
The decision to be an artist for a living is a tough one. It's a tough one to tell your parents about. It's a tough one for them to have to figure out. You know what I mean? Like, okay, my kid's gonna be an artist. Sure. That's not being a doctor. It's not being a lawyer. Now that this has happened and your music has done what it's done for your life and your family's life in some ways, like what does that mean to them? Do they get to talk to you about it at all?
Yeah, yeah, they did. We had I remember a conversation when I told them I wasn't going to go to school anymore. But, my parents are from Mexico, like crossed the border and like had me in Indiana. And, we've always struggled with money, like the whole lineage. And like, they come here for me to have a better life and, get an education and do that. So there was that pressure of, it's like, oh, like, to be successful or to help out the family, like, when you're older and I don't know, create generational wealth or whatever it might be, American dream or whatever.
Yeah.
So when you do all that work and you have kids and you do it and they whatever they manifested and like made a reality, and your kid comes home and says, oh, I want to be a singer. Of course, I'd be stressed too. I'd be like, oh, okay, no, you're crazy. But I don't know. I just had, I've always like kind of moved of how I felt and I didn't really think about it too much. And they were at first very like, you're tripping, like, you know, you're not even a good singer type of vibe.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
my dad told me I was a bad singer.
Thanks, Dad.
But I learned, like, you know what I'm saying? I went on YouTube, I literally typed in how to sing and I would do it for hours and hours. I had like an obsession. The first show they came to was when it was sold out, 1,200 people in like 2018 or something like that. And they were just really confused. They're like, is someone else playing or like, are you opening or whatever? And I was like, no, this is mine. Like, it's my show. And I think that that's when they really like started to respect what I was doing. Cause I didn't even really tell them I was making music like that.
They must be pretty proud of you.
Yeah, no, they're super proud. And they're just worried about my health, my mental health and what I ate that morning and if I slept. And yeah, it's just nice to have them worry about that. And
Well, I can see now that, you know, the instinct and persistence is the thing that I'm carrying from this interview. Like the instinct, like I know what I want to do, and I got to trust my gut when it comes to a couple of these decisions. And like I got to figure out how to sing, I got to figure out how to write songs, I got to put in some hours here, I got to figure out how to tour, I got to figure out how to dance, I got to figure out all this stuff, and all this leading to this big Grammy nomination. Like just to go back to what we started with, like I can tell how meaningful it is to you.
yeah, man, thank you. I appreciate you saying that.
It's really lovely to meet you.
Great to meet you
I
too.
love the record.
Thanks, man. I'm gonna keep making more.
Well, come on back. Whenever you want.
For sure.